Hi, I'm Barab, the resilience expert. I help people balance attitude, reality, and behavior to craft lives of significance.
You may not have noticed this, but I'm wearing a colander on my head. And this is not just any ordinary colander. I mean, this is not my cheap plastic everyday colander. This is my fancy dress colander for you fine people. Now, I'm wearing it to illustrate a point. And the point is that we all have a mindset of how we view the world. And the way we strain life events through the holes in our colander determines our resilience in times of change. It determines whether we will be adept or inept at dealing with change. What I want to challenge you to do today and throughout this entire conference is to rearrange the holes in your colander. I'm just like you. I have served for 9 years, 3 terms in a school district in the state of Texas. Actually, I just went out of office in May. I stood for election 3 times, 2 of them very heated. So I guess that makes me, just like you, a politician. Now, you know the word politics is derived from the Greek, poly meaning many and tix meaning blood-sucking. When I first got on the board, I was just certain that I was going to be president of the board. I'd been president of every organization I had ever joined. I attended all the training, I served on all the committees, and finally, the board president, who had been president for many years, decided to step down from being president and let somebody else be president. And so we're in the meeting, and so somebody says, who would like to be president? And I said, well, I'd be willing to serve. And when the votes had been counted and the tally was over, my colleagues had not elected me president. Do you have any idea how humiliating it is to volunteer for a volunteer job and get turned down? I was humiliated. Oh, I was cut to the quick. It was all I could do to get into my car before I started weeping on the way home. I crawled home and I cried for about 3 days. I had a really serious and enjoyable pity party. I mean, it was, you know, nobody likes me, everybody hates me, and I just work my heart out and they don't appreciate me. I was really full of it. About 3 days later, the phone rang. It was one of my colleagues. She said, Ann, let's go to lunch. And while we were at lunch, she said, Ann, would you like for me to tell you why I did not vote for you for president? Do you really want to know? I mean, isn't it just better to continue to think everybody doesn't like you? But I'm a trooper. I know how to play the game. So I said, oh, yes, please share with me. By law, in the state of Texas, the board president, the job is supposed to function as a facilitator. And so the board president's job is to make sure that this board member's voice is heard and this board member, and go around the table, make sure every board member gets to express their views, no board member dominates. And in fact, the board president's job is to kind of sit back and just sort of sum up, but make sure that the conversation is going well. My colleague said, Ann, the reason I did not vote for you for president is because I did not want to silence your voice. Well, that's a whole different story. Now, what if somebody said that to you? What if somebody said, I really listen when you talk? Somebody said, you know what, you have a great perspective and you always listen so well to everyone else. You know, you are wise. I want to follow your lead. What do you think you would do if someone came up and said that to you? Well, I know what I did. I shut up. Because I wanted to make sure that every single time I opened my voice, a beautiful pearl of wisdom dropped out. It significantly improved my board performance. One of my core topics is leadership, because I speak from hands-on experience.
I was the chief operating officer of a billion-dollar mortgage bank at a time when women were not typically part of the executive team. I've also been in public service. I served 3 terms, 9 years, as an elected official in my community. I take the leadership lessons I learned the hard way and teach people how to think like a leader.
How do you personally get to be a great leader? I read a quote from Mother Teresa. Do you realize that over 10,000 people died in her arms? Okay, I'm not there, but I'm going to respect someone who is. This is what Mother Teresa said. She said, I look through the eyes down into the heart of the person standing in front of me to see their greatest need. And if it is within my power, I grant it. Okay, so I thought, hey, maybe that'll work for me if I actually sincerely listen with my heart. What I learned is the value of listening to the heart, because 90% of the conversations that you have around the boardroom may or may not have anything to do with the actual data. What people really want is to be heard, to be listened to feel that their views are valid, they're recognized as having merit, even if they're not the way you end up going at this point in time. It's the cornerstone of good listening. I highly recommend it. It's changed the quality of my interaction on the board.
Stress is all around us. A little stress is good. It keeps us sharp. Too much stress is debilitating. I teach people how to respond and control their own stress levels so they can combat that feeling of being overwhelmed and create more balance in their lives.
And you just knew you were going to be the perfect parent, not make all those neurotic mistakes your parents made, right? And your child, oh, your child was going to be perfect too. So how's that working out for you, George? Well, everything was great until he got to be about 6 months. You had him up on the changing table, you were taking the dirty diaper off, you pulled it off, you reached over to put it in the diaper pail, and when you came back, he's gone. He'd flipped off the table onto his head. Oh my gosh, brain damage. And there you and your beloved sit in the waiting room, terrified, brain damage. The doctor comes out and says to you, is this your first? Well, they bounce. There is no brain damage. Maybe not then. Now I'd like to remind you that the Lord commanded Abraham to sacrifice Isaac when Isaac was just 12 years old. I think because he knew that if he waited until Isaac turned 13, it might not be a sacrifice. Well, he hit 13 and that brain damage just kicked right in. He started into hair design. First he dyed his hair blue. Then he dyed it green. Then he parted it down the middle and dyed one side blue and the other side maroon. He matched the sofa. Then he put purple dye on top of the bleach, turned it neon. Then he shaved it all off. Now, I don't know about you all, but I kind of think a bald black guy is kind of sexy. Bald white guy looks like a big thumb. Then he grew it out. into long, loopy, red curls. Looks like Annie. He said, Mom, the greeters at Walmart keep calling me ma'am. Can't they see my goatee? I don't know, son. I see an awful lot of unwanted female facial hair at Walmart.
Meetings are too expensive today for people to just sit and get. They've got to take away useful information, packaged in a way that inspires them to actually improve their behavior. So I challenge audiences throughout the presentation to identify 2 or 3 strategies they are willing to implement immediately. Then I close with a strong call to action.
Because all those little purple-haired kids, all those goofy little hard-to-teach people can grow up to become heroes if we will simply help them. So what I challenge you to do today is to learn everything you can at this conference and then go back and become a visionary leader who crafts 2 or 3 really great strategies. So if you will, please stand up. We are going to take the pledge. I do solemnly promise I will be a visionary leader. And I promise that I will listen with my heart. And I am a professional. So where there is a will, I will get my name on it. Thank you. Thank you very much.